The 9-year-old boy watched 80 Hells Angels motorcycles thunder down his quiet street, their engines shaking windows and sending neighbors scrambling inside to lock their doors. Tyler Brennan's mother gripped his shoulders, her fingers digging in with terror. "What did you do?" she whispered. 5 days earlier, Tyler had lent his dead father's tools to a stranded biker, a simple act of kindness that should have ended there. But now the entire Arizona chapter sat outside their home, leather-clad and intimidating, while the neighborhood called 911. Tyler's heart hammered. Had his father's lesson about helping strangers been wrong? Had trusting the man with the fearsome patches been the biggest mistake of his young life? The club president approached the door, and Tyler prepared for consequences he couldn't imagine. The October afternoon sun filtered through the ponderosa pines lining Copper Basin Road, casting dappled shadows across the asphalt as Tyler Brennan pedaled his bicycle home from school. At 9 years old, Tyler had grown accustomed to the quiet of his neighborhood on the outskirts of Prescott, where houses sat separated by acres of scrubland, and the only regular sounds were wind through the trees and the occasional distant rumble of motorcycles on Highway 89. His backpack bounced against his shoulders as he navigated the gentle incline toward home, his mind wandering between tomorrow's math test and whether Mom would have time to help him with his science project tonight. She'd been working double shifts at the diner and picking up weekend hours at Miller's grocery for 8 months now, ever since Dad's accident at the construction site. Tyler tried not to think about that day too much, but sometimes the memories crept in uninvited, like now, when he passed the old workshop shed, where Dad's tools still hung exactly where he'd left them. The sound of an engine sputtering pulled Tyler from his thoughts. He slowed his bicycle, his sneakers scraping against the gravel shoulder, as he spotted a massive motorcycle tilted awkwardly on the roadside about 50 yards ahead. A man in leather vest and jeans crouched beside the bike, his hands black with grease, clearly in the middle of some mechanical trouble. Tyler's first instinct was to keep pedaling. His mom had warned him countless times about strangers, especially ones who looked rough around the edges. The man wore what Tyler recognized from television as a motorcycle club vest, patches and symbols covering the leather, including one large patch on the back that read Hells Angels with Arizona underneath. Tyler had heard whispers about motorcycle clubs at school, the way older kids talked about them with a mixture of fear and fascination. The news sometimes showed stories about biker violence, police raids, drug arrests. But as Tyler drew closer, he noticed something that made him break completely. The man wasn't threatening or angry. He looked frustrated and tired, wiping sweat from his forehead with an already filthy hand. The toolbox lying open beside the bike contained only a few basic wrenches, clearly insufficient for whatever repair the motorcycle needed. The man muttered under his breath, trying to force a bolt that wouldn't budge, and Tyler saw the flash of genuine worry cross his weathered face. Tyler thought about his dad, who had never passed a stranded motorist without stopping to help. "We've all been stuck somewhere," Dad used to say. "The world works better when people look out for each other, no matter what they look like or where they're from." Before he could talk himself out of it, Tyler called out, "Mister, are you okay?" The man looked up, surprise evident on his bearded face. He was probably in his early 40s, with sun-weathered skin and grey streaking through his dark hair. His eyes, however, were unexpectedly kind as they focused on Tyler. "Hey there, kid. Yeah, I'm all right. Just having some mechanical trouble." This old girl picked a bad time to act up. He patted the motorcycle with genuine affection. Tyler climbed off his bicycle, propping it against a roadside pine tree. "What's wrong with it?" "Oil lines leaking, and I need to replace a gasket before I can ride her safely. Problem is, I don't have the right tools with me. Left my full kit back at the clubhouse, figured I'd just be making a quick run." The man shook his head at his own oversight. Now I'm stuck out here waiting for a tow truck that won't arrive for at least 2 hours. Tyler hesitated, glancing down the empty road toward his house just a quarter-mile away. The man followed his gaze but didn't say anything, just waited patiently while Tyler wrestled with his decision. On one hand, Mum would probably be upset if she knew Tyler was talking to a stranger, especially one wearing those intimidating patches. On the other hand, Dad's workshop shed was full of tools that no one used anymore, tools that Dad would have definitely offered to someone in need. "I have tools," Tyler said finally, his voice small but determined. "My dad was a contractor. He had pretty much every tool you can think of. We live right down there." He pointed toward the cluster of houses visible through the pines. The man's eyebrows rose. "That's real kind of you to offer, kid, but I don't want to cause you any trouble. Your folks might not appreciate you inviting strangers to borrow their tools. It's just me and my mom now," Tyler said quietly. "Dad died in an accident 8 months ago. The tools are just sitting there. He would have wanted someone to use them." The words came out easier than Tyler expected, though his chest still tightened when he said them aloud. Something shifted in the man's expression, a flash of understanding, perhaps recognition of loss from someone who'd experienced his own share of it. He stood slowly, wiping his hands on a rag he pulled from his pocket. "I'm real sorry to hear about your dad, son. That's tough at any age." He extended a still grimy hand. "Name's Marcus. Most folks call me Reaper, but you can call me Marcus." Tyler shook his hand, noticing the firm but gentle grip. "I'm Tyler Brennan." "Well, Tyler Brennan, if you're sure it's okay, I'd be grateful to borrow those tools. I promise I'll take good care of them and bring them right back when I'm done. You have my word on that, and where I come from, a man's word is everything." Tyler nodded, making his decision. "Wait here. I'll be right back." He pedaled hard down the remaining stretch of road, his heart pounding partly from exertion and partly from the magnitude of what he was doing. The Brennan house was a modest single-story ranch with peeling blue paint and a yard that needed mowing. One more thing Mom didn't have time for these days. Tyler dropped his bicycle in the driveway and ran to the workshop shed out back, fumbling with the padlock combination that he'd memorized by watching Dad open it hundreds of times. Inside, the shed still smelled like motor oil and sawdust. Dust motes danced in the light streaming through the small window. Dad's tools hung on pegboards and filled red metal toolboxes, organized with the precision of someone who respected his equipment. Tyler grabbed the largest portable toolkit, a heavy red metal box that contained socket wrenches, screwdrivers, pliers, and an assortment of specialized tools. It was heavier than he expected, but he managed to lift it and carry it awkwardly back to his bicycle. Getting the toolbox back to Marcus proved challenging. Tyler couldn't pedal while holding it, so he walked his bicycle along the shoulder, the toolbox bumping against his leg with each step. By the time he reached Marcus, his arms ached and sweat soaked his t-shirt despite the cool October air. Marcus's eyes widened when he saw the quality of the toolkit. "Tyler, this is professional-grade equipment. Your dad had good taste in tools." He accepted the box carefully, setting it down beside the motorcycle with obvious respect. "I meant what I said. I'll take care of these and get them back to you as soon as I'm done here." "I know," Tyler said simply. Something about Marcus made him trustworthy, despite the fearsome patches on his vest. "Do you need anything else? We have more tools in the shed." "No, this should do it. You've already gone above and beyond, kid." Marcus crouched beside the motorcycle and opened the toolbox, selecting what he needed with the confident efficiency of someone who'd spent years working with his hands. "You should probably head home before your mom starts worrying about you." Tyler nodded, but found himself reluctant to leave. He watched as Marcus worked, impressed by how the older man handled each tool with care, explaining what he was doing as if Tyler had asked, though he hadn't. See, the oil line connects here to the engine block, but the gasket has worn out, so you get this leak. Have to drain the oil first, replace the gasket, then refill. Not complicated, but you need the right tools to do it properly. For 15 minutes, Tyler sat on the roadside grass, watching Marcus work and listening to his explanations. It reminded him of afternoons in the workshop with Dad, learning how things fit together and came apart. Marcus didn't treat him like a child. He spoke to him like someone worth teaching, someone whose attention mattered. When a silver Honda Civic slowed as it passed them, the driver's worried face staring at Tyler sitting near the leather-clad biker, Marcus noticed. "You're probably collecting some attention here, Tyler. Small towns talk, and I don't want to cause problems for you and your mom. You should head home. I'll have your dad's tools back to you within an hour, I promise." Tyler stood reluctantly, brushing grass from his jeans. "You know where I live? Quarter-mile down, blue house with the workshop shed out back. I'll find it." Marcus looked up from his work, his expression serious. "And Tyler, what you did today, helping a stranger when you had every reason not to, that took courage. Your dad raised you right. Don't let anyone tell you different, no matter what they say about me or my brothers. You judged me by my actions, not my appearance. That's rare, especially in someone so young." Tyler felt his cheeks flush at the praise. "My dad always said the world works better when people help each other. Your dad was a wise man. Now go on before I get you in real trouble." Tyler retrieved his bicycle and pedaled home, glancing back once to see Marcus already back at work, surrounded by Tyler's dad's tools, handling each one with obvious respect. When Tyler reached home, he found his mom's car still absent from the driveway. She wouldn't be back from her diner shift for another 2 hours. He went inside, fixed himself a peanut butter sandwich, and tried to focus on homework, while wondering if he'd done the right thing. An hour and 15 minutes later, as golden evening light painted the Prescott Mountains amber and orange, Tyler heard the distinctive rumble of a motorcycle approaching. He ran to the front window and watched as Marcus pulled into the driveway on his now functioning bike. The man killed the engine and dismounted, retrieving the red toolbox from the motorcycle's saddlebag. Tyler met him at the front door. Marcus handed over the toolbox with both hands, like presenting something valuable. "Good as new, and not a single tool missing. I even cleaned off the ones I used." He paused, then reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "This is my number at the clubhouse. If you or your mom ever need anything, and I mean anything, you call that number. Day or night, help with the house, car trouble, someone giving you grief, doesn't matter. You did right by me today, Tyler, and where I come from, we don't forget kindness like that." Tyler accepted the paper, unfolding it to see a phone number written in surprisingly neat handwriting, along with Marcus Reaper Caldwell and Hell's Angels, MC, Arizona chapter. "I don't need anything," Tyler said. "I just wanted to help. I know you don't need anything right now, but life's unpredictable, kid. Your dad knew that. So you keep that number somewhere safe and you remember what I said." Marcus looked toward the workshop shed, his expression thoughtful. "Your dad must have been one heck of a man to leave behind a son like you. The tools tell me he was skilled with his hands. The way you handled yourself tells me he was even better with teaching character." "He was the best," Tyler said quietly. Marcus nodded slowly, then climbed back onto his motorcycle. "Take care of yourself, Tyler Brennan, and take care of your mom. I'll see you around." The motorcycle roared to life, and Marcus raised one hand in farewell before heading back down Copper Basin Road, the sound of his engine gradually fading into the distance. Tyler stood in the driveway for several minutes after he disappeared, holding the toolbox and the piece of paper, feeling like something significant had just happened, though he couldn't quite articulate what. When his mom arrived home 40 minutes later, exhausted and carrying 2 bags of groceries from the store where she'd picked up an extra shift after the diner. Tyler told her about helping the stranded motorcyclist. He watched her face carefully, trying to gauge her reaction. Rachel Brennan set down the groceries and pulled Tyler into a hug that lasted longer than usual. "You have your father's heart," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "That's exactly what he would have done." But Tyler also noticed the worry that flickered across her features, the way her eyes lingered on the workshop she'd visible through the kitchen window. She didn't say it, but Tyler could read her concern. What if the biker doesn't bring back the tools? What if he comes back with bad intentions? What if helping him puts us in danger? He already brought them back, Mom, and he cleaned them. Look. Tyler showed her the toolbox, opening it to display the neatly arranged, spotless tools inside. Rachel examined the tools, then pulled out a chair and sat heavily, the long day evident in every movement. "You're a good kid, Tyler. I'm proud of you for helping someone in need, but I also need you to be careful, okay? The world isn't always as kind as you are. Not everyone deserves trust. I know, Mom, but Dad always said—" "I know what your dad always said," Rachel interrupted gently, reaching out to brush Tyler's hair from his forehead, in that maternal gesture he both loved and found embarrassing. "And he was right. But he also taught you to be smart about who you help and how. Just be careful. That's all I'm asking." Tyler nodded, and the conversation moved on to homework and dinner. But later that night, lying in bed with moonlight streaming through his window and the sound of wind in the pines outside, Tyler thought about Marcus's words. "You judged me by my actions, not my appearance. That's rare, especially in someone so young." It made Tyler feel proud and mature, like he'd passed some test he hadn't known he was taking. He didn't know it then, but that simple act of lending tools to a stranger would set in motion events that would transform not just his own life, but the entire community's understanding of what it meant to judge by appearance rather than character. The paper with Marcus's phone number lay safely tucked in Tyler's desk drawer, and though he didn't expect to ever need it, he was glad to have it. A small piece of connection to someone who, despite all outward appearances suggesting otherwise, had treated a lonely 9-year-old boy with respect, kindness, and gratitude. As Tyler drifted toward sleep, his last conscious thought was of his dad, and wondering if somewhere, somehow, Dad knew about today and approved of what Tyler had done. In the workshop shed out back, his father's tools rested in their places, clean and ready, having served their purpose once again, not by building or fixing things, but by building a bridge between 2 people who the world insisted should fear each other. The night settled peacefully over Prescott, stars emerging in the clear Arizona sky, and tomorrow seemed very far away. 5 days passed with no sign of Marcus, and Tyler began to think that perhaps the encounter had been exactly what it appeared. A simple exchange of help between strangers, nothing more. School filled his weekdays with multiplication tables and spelling tests, while evenings consisted of helping Mom with dinner and tackling homework at the kitchen table, while she paid bills with a worried crease between her eyebrows that never quite went away. It was Saturday morning when everything changed. Tyler woke to the distant sound of thunder, which seemed strange given the cloudless sky visible through his bedroom window. The rumbling grew louder, more sustained, and Tyler realized with a jolt that it wasn't thunder at all. It was engines, motorcycle engines, dozens of them. He scrambled out of bed and ran to the front window, his heart hammering. What he saw made him freeze in place, his breath catching in his throat. The quiet street in front of the Brennan house had transformed into a river of motorcycles. Chrome and leather and roaring engines stretching as far as Tyler could see in both directions. They weren't racing past. They were stopping, pulling into formation along the roadside and in the driveway, their riders dismounting in choreographed precision. "Mom!" Tyler's voice came out higher than he intended. "Mom, you need to see this." Rachel appeared in the hallway wearing her bathrobe, hair still messy from sleep. She looked toward the front window, and all color drained from her face. "Oh my God! Tyler, get away from the window. Go to your room. Now!" But Tyler couldn't move. He watched as more motorcycles arrived, until he counted at least 80 bikes and riders, all wearing the same leather vests with the same distinctive patches. Hell's Angels, Arizona chapter. They lined both sides of Copper Basin Road, and neighbors began emerging from their houses, faces pale with alarm. Tyler saw Mrs. Henderson from 3 houses down grab her husband's arm, pulling him back inside. Mr. Vega, across the street, stood on his porch with a phone pressed to his ear, clearly calling the police. Rachel grabbed Tyler's shoulders, her fingers digging in almost painfully. "Did something happen with that biker? Did you do something? Say something." "Tyler, I need you to tell me right now if—" "I didn't do anything wrong, Mom, I swear." Tyler's voice cracked. Had he misjudged Marcus? Had lending those tools somehow been a terrible mistake? His mind raced through their conversation, searching for anything he might have said or done to cause this. Among the sea of leather and chrome, Tyler spotted Marcus dismounting from his bike near the driveway. But he wasn't alone. An older man walked beside him, clearly a leader from the way other members stepped aside respectfully. This man was in his 50s, with silver hair tied back in a ponytail and a weathered face that had seen decades of sun and wind. His vest bore more patches than anyone else's, including one that read President. Marcus saw Tyler at the window and raised one hand in greeting, his expression calm and reassuring. Then he and the older man walked toward the front door. Rachel's hands trembled as she cinched her bathrobe tighter. "Stay behind me," she whispered to Tyler, but he could hear the fear in her voice despite her attempt to sound brave. The knock on the door was firm, but not aggressive. Rachel approached slowly. Tyler pressed close behind her despite her instruction to stay back. She opened the door only a crack, her body blocking most of the opening. "Mrs. Brennan?" The older man's voice was surprisingly gentle, with the rough edge of someone who'd smoked too many cigarettes but maintained respect in his tone. "My name is Vincent Harrington. Most folks know me as Smoke. I'm the president of the Arizona chapter of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. This here is Marcus Caldwell, one of my brothers. May we have a few minutes of your time?" "What do you want?" Rachel's voice shook. "If this is about the tools, they were returned. My son did nothing wrong." "Please, just—" "Ma'am," Vincent interrupted gently, raising both hands in a placating gesture. "We're not here to cause trouble. Quite the opposite. We're here because of what your son did, not to punish him, but to thank him. May we come in? I promise you, on my word and the word of every man out there, you and your boy are safer right now than you've ever been." Rachel hesitated, clearly torn between slamming the door and the genuine earnestness in Vincent's weathered face. Finally, she stepped back, opening the door wider. Marcus and Vincent entered, and Tyler noticed immediately how they carried themselves. Alert but respectful, powerful but consciously softening that power in this civilian space. The 3 of them stood in the modest living room with its worn furniture and family photos covering the walls. Vincent's eyes traveled over the pictures, stopping on one of Tyler with a man who was clearly his father. Same eyes, same smile, caught in a moment of laughter at what looked like a 4th of July barbecue. "Your husband?" Vincent asked quietly. "Was," Rachel said, her voice tight. "He died 8 months ago. Construction accident." Vincent nodded slowly, and something like recognition passed across his face. "I'm sorry for your loss, Ma'am. I lost my own boy to war. Afghanistan. 5 years ago now. Still doesn't get easier." He turned to Tyler, his hard features softening. "You must be Tyler. Marcus told me about what you did for him last week, lending your dad's tools to a stranger, no questions asked, no payment expected. That's not something we see much of anymore. Tyler found his voice, though it came out smaller than he wanted. I just wanted to help. My dad always said, "Your dad was right," Vincent interrupted, but not unkindly. The world needs more people like you and fewer people who judge others by how they look rather than how they act. But what you did was more than just helpful, son. It was trusting. You didn't see a dangerous biker when you looked at Marcus. You saw a man who needed help. That kind of openness, that kind of heart, it's rare. Especially these days when people see these patches and immediately think the worst. Marcus stepped forward, his presence less intimidating in the daylight of the living room. Mrs. Brennan, Tyler, what you need to understand is that in our world, honor and loyalty mean everything. When someone does right by one of us, especially when they have no reason to, when helping us might actually bring them trouble, we don't forget that. We can't ignore it. Our code won't let us. I don't understand what you want, Rachel said, her arms crossed defensively. Tyler helped because that's who he is. We don't need repayment. We don't want to be involved with... She cut herself off, but the implication hung in the air. Vincent's expression didn't harden, but something flickered in his eyes. Not anger, but sadness. With people like us, I understand, ma'am. I know what the news says. I know what people think when they see our patches. Some of it's deserved. We're not angels, despite the name. We've made mistakes, and we've had members who shamed the colors, but we're also not monsters. We're fathers and sons and veterans. We're mechanics and contractors and men who've chosen to live outside what society considers acceptable, but who still have our own code of honor. He gestured toward the window where the assembled motorcycles waited. Every man out there came here this morning because they heard the story of a 9-year-old boy who helped one of us without fear, without judgment. They came because that kind of goodness deserves recognition, and because, frankly, we can see that you and Tyler could use some help. Rachel stiffened. We're doing fine. We don't need charity. It's not charity, Marcus said quietly. It's honor. It's paying back a debt. Your son trusted me with something valuable. His father's tools. Tools that clearly mean something to him and to you. He took a risk for me, a complete stranger. Where we come from, that creates a bond. That creates an obligation. Tyler spoke up, his voice stronger now. What kind of help? Vincent crouched down, putting himself at Tyler's eye level, despite the obvious protest of old knees. I notice your yard could use some work. Fence has some broken slats. Paint on this house is peeling pretty bad, especially on the north side. Workshop shed out back has a roof that's seen better days. These are things your dad probably would have handled, but now... He trailed off delicately. Tears welled in Rachel's eyes. I don't have money to pay for repairs. Every dollar goes to keeping food on the table and the mortgage paid. No one's asking for payment, Vincent said firmly, rising to his feet. Here's what we'd like to do, if you'll allow it. The men outside, they're skilled laborers, most of them. We've got carpenters, electricians, plumbers, mechanics. We'd like to spend today fixing up your property. Mow the lawn, fix the fence, paint what needs painting, repair that shed roof, maybe take a look at your car. Marcus mentioned you're driving on tires that should have been replaced last year. Rachel shook her head, overwhelmed. That's too much. I can't accept. Mrs. Brennan, Vincent's voice took on a firmer edge, but not an unkind one. With respect, this isn't really about you accepting or not accepting. This is about us honoring what your son did. Our code demands it. You can stand here and refuse all day, but those men outside aren't leaving until they've done something meaningful for this family. You can let them do the work that needs doing, or you can let them stand in your yard feeling useless. But they're not leaving empty-handed. That's not how we operate. Tyler looked up at his mother, saw the war playing out on her face, pride fighting necessity, fear battling hope. Finally, she let out a long, shaky breath. This is just for today. You do the work, and then you leave us alone. Not quite, Marcus said, and Rachel tensed again. What Smoke is too polite to say is that you're under our protection now. Tyler became our brother when he helped me without hesitation. That means your family too. Any trouble you have, any threats, anyone who tries to hurt you or take advantage of you, they'll have to go through us. That protection doesn't expire, Mrs. Brennan. It's for life. We don't need protection, Rachel insisted, but her voice lacked conviction. Vincent pulled out a business card and set it on the coffee table. Maybe not today, but life is unpredictable. Things happen. People get targeted because they're seen as vulnerable, single mothers, kids without fathers. We're saying that's not you anymore. Anyone who knows this club knows we protect our own, and as of last Saturday, when your son showed kindness to one of us, you became our own. The three of them stood in heavy silence. Tyler processed everything he'd heard, his 9-year-old mind struggling to grasp the full implications, but understanding the core message. He'd done something good, and these men wanted to do something good in return. More than that, they wanted to make sure he and his mom were safe. "Can I ask something?" Tyler's voice cut through the tension. Vincent nodded. "If someone thinks you're scary and dangerous, won't having you help us make our neighbors more afraid of us?" It was an astute observation, and Vincent's respect for the boy clearly deepened. "That's a fair question, Tyler. And you're right. Some of your neighbors are probably pretty worried right now. They see our bikes and our patches, and they think the worst. But here's what I've learned in 56 years of living. You can't control what people think. You can only control what you do. We're going to do right by you and your mom. If that makes some people uncomfortable, that's their problem, not yours. But I'll tell you what usually happens. People see us doing good work, treating you with respect, and those prejudices start to crack. Won't change everyone's minds, but it'll change some." He turned to Rachel. "Ma'am, I need an answer. Do we have your permission to help?" Rachel looked at Tyler, and something passed between mother and son. A silent communication built on 8 months of struggling together, of Dad's absence, of too many bills, and not enough hours in the day. Tyler nodded slightly. "Yes," Rachel said finally, the word barely above a whisper. "You have my permission, and thank you for wanting to help, for caring about what Tyler did." Vincent's weathered face broke into a genuine smile. "Thank you for raising a son who knows how to do the right thing even when it's scary. Now why don't you folks stay inside while we get to work? This is going to get loud, and there'll be a lot of activity. We'll knock when we're done." As Vincent and Marcus headed for the door, Tyler called out, "Mr. Harrington." Vincent turned back. "Why do you call him Smoke?" Vincent chuckled, a sound like gravel shifting. "Because when I was younger and dumber, I could smoke a cigarette faster than anyone I knew. Stupid talent, stupid nickname, but it stuck. Now I'm trying to quit, but the name won't let go. Kind of like your own past, it follows you whether you want it to or not." With that, he and Marcus left. Through the window, Tyler and Rachel watched as Vincent addressed the assembled riders. They couldn't hear the words, but they saw the men's reactions, nods of understanding, quick organization into work groups. Within minutes, the quiet street erupted into controlled chaos. Motorcycles were moved to make room. Trucks arrived, apparently called ahead, carrying lumber, paint, tools, lawn equipment. Men spread out across the property with the efficiency of a military operation. Some attacked the overgrown yard with mowers and trimmers. Others assessed the fence, pulling out broken slats and measuring for replacements. A group climbed ladders to examine the house's peeling paint. Another team headed for the workshop shed. Rachel and Tyler watched from inside, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the operation. Mrs. Henderson ventured closer, her face a mask of concern. But one of the bikers, a massive man with arms like tree trunks, stopped her politely, explaining what was happening. Tyler couldn't hear the words, but he saw misses. Henderson's expression shifted from fear to confusion to something like wonder. By noon, the transformation was already remarkable. The yard looked manicured, the fence stood straight and solid, and the north side of the house had received a fresh coat of blue paint that made the whole structure look 10 years younger. The sounds of hammering, sawing, and the occasional burst of laughter filled the air. These men worked with purpose and obvious skill, trading jokes and insults with the ease of people who'd worked together for years. Rachel made sandwiches and brought them outside, a gesture of hospitality that felt inadequate given what was being done for them. The bikers accepted the food gratefully, taking breaks in shifts to ensure work never stopped. Tyler ventured outside as well, watching the activity with wide eyes. Marcus found him near the workshop shed, where several men were replacing rotted sections of the roof. "What do you think, kid?" "It's amazing," Tyler said honestly. "I didn't know this would happen. When I let you borrow the tools, I just wanted to help." "I know you did. That's what makes it matter." Marcus knelt beside Tyler, his voice lowering so only the boy could hear. "Let me tell you something about the world, Tyler. Most people see these patches and they judge us immediately. They think criminal, dangerous threat, and sometimes they're right. We're not perfect, and our lifestyle isn't for everyone. But we're also human beings who value loyalty, honor, respect. Your dad's tools were important to you, but you lent them anyway. You saw past my appearance to a person who needed help. That's a gift, Tyler. Don't ever lose it." Tyler nodded, feeling the weight of Marcus's words. Around them, the work continued. Men who society feared and judged, pouring their skills and sweat into helping a widow and her 9-year-old son. It was cognitive dissonance made physical, a challenge to every stereotype Tyler had absorbed from television and whispered conversations. As the afternoon wore on, something else began to happen. More neighbors ventured out, curiosity overcoming fear. They watched the bikers work, heard their laughter, saw the care they took with the Brennan property. Conversations started, tentative at first, then growing more comfortable. Vincent made a point of introducing himself to anyone who approached, explaining clearly and respectfully what was happening and why. Mr. Vega, who had called the police earlier, approached Vincent with obvious apprehension. Tyler watched from the yard as the two men talked, saw Vincent gesture toward Tyler, saw Mr. Vega's expression shift. The police had arrived hours ago, lights flashing, ready for trouble. But Vincent had met them calmly, explained the situation, even invited them to stay and watch if they wanted to ensure nothing illegal was occurring. The officers had stayed for an hour, watching the work, talking to the bikers, eventually leaving with confused but less hostile expressions. By late afternoon, as the October sun began its descent toward the Prescott Mountains, the work neared completion. The house looked like a different place entirely. Fresh paint, repaired fence, manicured yard, solid shed roof. Rachel's car sat on new tires, the suspension checked, the oil changed. Even the driveway had been patched where cracks had threatened to become potholes. Vincent knocked on the door as promised. When Rachel opened it, she gasped at the transformation visible even from the doorway. "Oh my God, I can't believe, this is incredible." "It's what we do for family," Vincent said simply. "And you're family now, whether you asked for it or not." He handed her an envelope. "Inside is contact information for every man who worked today. Electrician, plumber, mechanic, carpenter, whatever you need, whenever you need it, you call, day or night. No charge, ever. That's the deal." Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know how to thank you. This is more than we ever—" "You thank us by raising that boy to be the kind of man who helps strangers without fear," Vincent interrupted gently. "You thank us by living well, by thriving instead of just surviving. You thank us by remembering that people aren't always what they appear to be, and by teaching Tyler that lesson." He looked past Rachel to where Tyler stood in the hallway. And you, young man, you've got courage and character. Don't let the world take that from you. Don't let people make you cynical or afraid. Your dad taught you right. Honor that. Tyler stepped forward, his heart full of emotions he couldn't quite name. Mr. Harrington, will I see you again? Vincent smiled, the expression transforming his weathered face. Count on it, kid. We take care of our own, and that means we're part of your life now. Birthday parties, school events, whatever. If you want us there, we're there. And if you ever need anything, you call. Understand? I understand. The bikers began mounting their motorcycles, the rumble of engines filling the evening air. Neighbors who had gathered to watch applauded, hesitantly at first, then with genuine enthusiasm. Mrs. Henderson waved. Mr. Vega called out thanks for fixing a section of his fence that had been damaged during the work. Children who had been kept inside all day now ventured out, staring in awe at the departing motorcycles. Marcus was the last to leave. He stopped in front of Tyler, pulling something from his vest pocket, a small metal pin in the shape of wings. This is a junior supporter pin. It doesn't make you a member. You're way too young for that, and honestly, I hope you never want to be one. But it means you're under our protection, and it means you've earned our respect. Your dad would be proud of you, Tyler. I'm proud of you. Tyler accepted the pin with trembling hands, the metal warm from Marcus's body heat. Thank you for everything. No, kid, thank you. Marcus mounted his motorcycle, then paused. Oh, and Tyler, keep taking care of those tools. Something tells me you're going to need them. You've got your dad's heart, and his heart was all about building and fixing and helping. Don't let those tools sit unused. Learn from them, use them. Keep your dad's spirit alive. With a final wave, Marcus roared away, joining the departing stream of motorcycles. Tyler and Rachel stood in their transformed yard, watching the sunset paint the Arizona sky in shades of orange and purple, listening as the rumble of engines gradually faded into the distance. When silence finally returned to Copper Basin Road, it was a different kind of silence, not empty but full of possibility. Rachel pulled Tyler into a hug, holding him tight. You did good, baby. You did so good. Tyler hugged her back, the pin clutched in his fist. He thought about his dad, about the tools, about Marcus and Vincent and 80 men who had spent their Saturday fixing up a stranger's house because a 9-year-old boy had shown kindness. He thought about prejudice and reality, about appearance versus character, about how the world was more complicated and more beautiful than he'd ever imagined. That night, Tyler carefully pinned the supporter pin to his jacket and hung it in his closet where he could see it every morning. The envelope of contact numbers went into his desk drawer beside Marcus's original phone number, and in the workshop shed, his father's tools rested in their newly repaired space, waiting to be used again. Instruments of creation, symbols of connection, bridges between strangers who chose to see humanity instead of fear. Prescott settled into its evening routine, but something had changed. A story had been written into the community's fabric, a story about a boy who helped a biker, and about how 80 men in leather vests had responded with grace, skill, and honor. It was a story people would tell for years, a reminder that prejudice blinds us to unexpected heroes, and that sometimes the most feared among us are capable of the most beautiful kindness. The weeks following the bikers' arrival passed in a strange new reality for Tyler and Rachel Brennan. The transformation of their property became neighborhood legend. People drove by slowly to look at the freshly painted house, the solid fence, the manicured yard. Some neighbors spoke to them with new curiosity, others with barely concealed disapproval. The Brennans had become those people associated with the Hells Angels, and Tyler learned quickly that this designation came with both unexpected benefits and uncomfortable complications. At Lincoln Elementary School, Tyler's story spread like wildfire. Some kids thought it was the coolest thing ever, begging for details about the motorcycles and the bikers. Others avoided him, their parents having delivered stern warnings about those dangerous people and children who associate with them. Tyler found himself navigating a social landscape suddenly divided between fascination and fear. It was during lunch one Wednesday, 3 weeks after the biker's visit, when Tyler learned exactly how complicated his new reality had become. He sat at his usual table with his small circle of friends, Jamie Rodriguez, Emma Chen, and Aidan Cooper, when Bradley Mitchell approached. Bradley was 12, held back twice, larger than any fifth grader had a right to be, and had made Tyler's life occasionally miserable since kindergarten, with casual cruelty disguised as just joking around. "Hey, Brennan," Bradley said loudly, drawing attention from nearby tables. "Heard you've got biker friends now. That true? You some kind of junior criminal or something?" Tyler felt his face flush. "They're not criminals. They helped my mom fix our house." "Yeah, I bet they did. My dad says bikers are drug dealers and thugs. Says anyone who hangs around them is probably breaking the law too." Bradley leaned closer, his breath smelling like the tuna sandwich he'd just eaten. "Maybe I should tell Principal Dawson about your new friends. See what she thinks about dangerous criminals hanging around school property." "They've never been to the school," Tyler protested, his voice smaller than he wanted it to be. "Not yet. But with friends like that, who knows what could happen? Maybe they'll show up for career day. Tell us all about their career in crime." Bradley laughed at his own joke, and several other kids joined in, not because it was funny, but because Bradley was the kind of kid you laughed with, not at. Emma stood up, her voice sharp. "Leave him alone, Bradley. Tyler helped someone in need. That's called being a good person. Maybe you should try it sometime." Bradley's face reddened. "Stay out of this, Chen. This is between me and Biker Boy here." What happened next surprised everyone, including Tyler himself. Instead of shrinking back or running to a teacher, Tyler stood up, meeting Bradley's eyes, despite the 6 inches and 40 pounds the older boy had on him. "My dad died 8 months ago," Tyler said, his voice steady and clear. "He taught me to help people who need it, no matter what they look like or who they are. I lent some tools to a man whose motorcycle broke down. He was grateful, so his friends helped my mom fix our house. That's it. That's the whole story. If you think that makes me bad, then I don't know what to tell you." The lunchroom had gone quiet, dozens of eyes locked on the confrontation. Bradley clearly hadn't expected resistance, and his face cycled through several expressions before settling on aggressive defensiveness. "Whatever. Just don't come crying to me when your biker buddies get arrested and you get in trouble for knowing them." "I won't," Tyler said simply. Bradley stalked away, his dominance challenged in a way that clearly bothered him. Tyler sat back down, his hands shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. Jamie clapped him on the shoulder. "Dude, that was awesome! I've never seen you stand up to Bradley like that." "Yeah, well, I'm tired of people telling me I did something wrong when all I did was help someone." Tyler poked at his lunch, no longer hungry. "Why is everyone so scared of them? They fixed our house. They were nice to my mom." "They didn't do anything bad." Aidan, whose father was a police officer, spoke quietly. "My dad says the Hells Angels have done some bad things. Like, really bad things. But he also says that not every member is the same, and judging a whole group by what some members did isn't fair. He says it's complicated." "Everything's complicated," Emma muttered. "My mom thinks what they did for you was beautiful. She says it shows they have honor. But my dad thinks they're trying to recruit you or something, like they're investing in future members. They fight about it." Tyler felt a headache building behind his eyes. How had one simple act of kindness turned into something so complicated? He just wanted to help Marcus fix his motorcycle. He hadn't thought about consequences or community reactions or becoming the center of controversy. That afternoon, walking home from the bus stop, Tyler noticed a black SUV driving slowly alongside him. His first instinct was fear. Had Bradley's threats manifested somehow? But then the window rolled down, and Marcus leaned out, his bearded face breaking into a smile. "Tyler, got a minute?" Tyler approached the SUV, where Marcus sat in the passenger seat while another biker Tyler didn't recognize drove. "Hi, Marcus. What are you doing here?" "Just checking in. Wanted to see how things were going. Mind if we talk for a few minutes? We can drive you home." Tyler climbed into the back seat, the leather warm from the afternoon sun. The driver pulled away from the curb, heading toward Copper Basin Road at a leisurely pace. Marcus twisted in his seat to face Tyler. "So how's life treating you since our visit? School going okay?" Tyler hesitated, then decided honesty was better than pretending everything was fine. "It's weird. Some kids think it's cool that I know you guys. Other kids avoid me because their parents told them to. And this one kid, Bradley, he says you're all criminals, and I'm going to get in trouble for knowing you." Marcus's expression darkened. "Bradley giving you trouble? Physical trouble or just running his mouth?" "Just talking. He's always been kind of mean, but now he's got a new reason." Tyler paused. "Is he right? Are you criminals?" The question hung in the air for a long moment. The driver, a younger man with tattoos covering both arms, glanced in the rearview mirror but said nothing. Marcus sighed deeply. "That's a complicated question, Tyler, and I'm going to give you an honest answer because you deserve it. Yes, some of us have criminal records. I've been arrested 3 times, twice for assault when I was younger and stupid, and once for weapons possession. I did time for the assault charges, but that was 15 years ago, and I've been clean since. I work as a mechanic now, I pay my taxes, and I haven't broken any laws in over a decade." He ran a hand through his graying hair. "But the club as a whole? Yeah, we've had members who've done bad things. Drug dealing, violence, theft, and the police watch us because of our history and because some chapters in other states have done really bad stuff. So when people call us criminals, they're not completely wrong, but they're also not seeing the whole picture." Tyler absorbed this, appreciating the honesty, even as it complicated his feelings. "So why did you help us? If people already think you're bad, doesn't helping us just make them think you're trying to trick us or use us somehow?" Marcus smiled sadly. "That's exactly what some people think. And honestly, Tyler, I don't blame them for being cautious, but here's what you need to understand. The club is my family. These men are my brothers. When you showed me kindness, when you trusted me with your dad's tools, with something valuable that meant something to you, that meant everything to us. In our world, loyalty and honor are what hold us together. When someone outside the club shows us respect and kindness, especially when they have every reason not to, we don't forget that. Ever." The driver spoke up for the first time, his voice surprisingly gentle. "My name's Jake, by the way. I wasn't at your house that day. I was out of town. But I heard the story. What you did, kid, it reminded a lot of us why we got into this life in the first place. Not for the criminal stuff, but for the brotherhood. For the idea that outcasts and misfits can create their own family based on loyalty and respect. You didn't see an outcast when you looked at Marcus. You saw a person who needed help. That's rare." They pulled up to the Brennan house, and Tyler noticed his mom's car already in the driveway. She must have gotten home early. Marcus turned fully around in his seat. "Tyler, I want you to understand something. Having us in your life might make things complicated. Some people won't understand. Some will judge you. That's on them, not on you. But if it ever gets to be too much, if the association with us causes real problems for you or your mom, you just say the word, and we'll step back. We'll always be there if you need us, but we won't force our presence if it's hurting you. "I don't want you to step back," Tyler said firmly. "You helped us when we needed it. You were nice to me and my mom. Why should I care what people who don't even know you think?" Marcus's eyes grew suspiciously bright. "You're a hell of a kid, you know that? Your dad raised you right." He pulled a card from his wallet and handed it back to Tyler. "This is Vincent's personal number. Not the clubhouse, his direct line. If anyone ever gives you serious trouble, and I mean serious, not just some kid running his mouth, you call that number, day or night. You understand? I'm not saying we'll rough anyone up for you, but we can make it clear that you're under protection, and that usually solves problems before they start." Tyler accepted the card, adding it to his growing collection of biker contact information. "Thank you, Marcus, for checking on me. For being honest about the complicated stuff. That's what brothers do. Now get inside before your mom wonders why you're sitting in an SUV with two bikers." Marcus grinned. "Tell her I said hello, and that we'll be checking in regularly, just to make sure you're both doing okay." Tyler climbed out of the SUV, then impulsively leaned back in. "Marcus, can I ask you something? What happened to you? I mean, what made you join the club in the first place?" Marcus was quiet for a moment, his expression distant. "I was a different person when I was young. Angry, lost. My dad was an alcoholic who used his fists more than his words. My mom left when I was 10. I joined the army, served in the Gulf War, came home even more messed up than when I left. The club found me when I was at my lowest, gave me structure, gave me brothers who had my back, gave me a purpose. Yeah, I made mistakes, big ones. But the club also saved my life, Tyler. It gave me a family when I didn't have one. That's why we take loyalty so seriously. We know what it's like to be outsiders. We know what it's like to be judged. And we know the value of people who see past all that to the human underneath." Tyler nodded slowly, understanding more than Marcus probably expected a 9-year-old to understand. "Thank you for telling me, and for everything. Any time, kid. Any time." Tyler watched the SUV drive away, then headed inside, where his mom waited with questions written all over her face. He explained the conversation, saw relief and lingering worry wore on her features. Rachel had made her peace with the bikers' help, but the continued presence in their lives clearly unsettled her. Over dinner that night, spaghetti with store-brand sauce, garlic bread from the bakery discount rack, Rachel brought up something she'd been thinking about. "Tyler, honey, I want you to know that what you did was good. Helping Marcus was the right thing to do, and I'm proud of you for it. But I also need you to understand that life isn't simple. Those men helped us tremendously, and they seem to genuinely care about you. But they also live outside normal society. They have histories. They have enemies. Being associated with them might bring complications we can't predict. I know, Mom. Marcus told me today. He said some of them have criminal records. He was honest about it." Tyler pushed spaghetti around his plate, but he also said they value honor and loyalty, and they helped us. Doesn't that count for something? "It counts for everything," Rachel said softly. "That's what makes it so complicated. They're not villains from a movie, they're people. Complex people with good and bad in them, just like everyone else. But society sees those patches and makes judgments. And now, whether we like it or not, we're part of that judgment. People look at our house and know who painted it. They see you and think about who you're connected to." Tyler set down his fork. "Do you wish I hadn't helped Marcus?" "No!" Rachel reached across the table to grip his hand. "Never! I wish the world was simpler. I wish good deeds didn't come with complications, but I would never want you to be the kind of person who passes by someone in need. Your father wouldn't want that either." They finished dinner in contemplative silence, each processing the complex reality they now inhabited. Later, doing homework at the kitchen table, Tyler found his mind wandering to Marcus's story, The angry young man who found family in an unlikely place, who made mistakes, but also found redemption and purpose. It made Tyler think about judgment, about how easy it was to label people as simply good or bad when reality was so much more complicated. That night, lying in bed, Tyler heard his mom on the phone in the living room, her voice low but audible through the thin walls. "I know, Mom. I know you're worried. But they helped us. They were respectful. Tyler saw someone who needed help, and he helped them. That's what Tom would have wanted. That's what we taught him. No, I don't think they're dangerous to us. But yes, I worry about perception. I worry about Tyler being labeled. I don't know. I honestly don't know what the right answer is." Tyler closed his eyes, wishing his dad was here to navigate this. Dad always seemed to know the right thing to do, the right balance between caution and compassion. But Dad was gone, and Tyler had to figure it out himself, with his mum's guidance and his own moral compass. A compass that had pointed him toward helping a stranger on the roadside, and now had him connected to a world he was only beginning to understand. Outside, the Arizona night settled over Prescott, stars brilliant in the clear sky. On Copper Basin Road, neighbors settled into their evening routines, some with stories about the boy and the bikers, some with concerns about what it all meant. And somewhere across town, at the Hells Angels clubhouse, Marcus sat with his brothers, telling them about the kid who trusted him with his dad's tools, the kid who stood up to bullies rather than deny the connection, the kid who asked honest questions and deserved honest answers. The story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. Because Tyler Brennan's simple act of kindness had set in motion a chain of events that would ultimately challenge an entire community's understanding of prejudice, character, and the unexpected places where honor can be found. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come from the least expected teachers, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is see people as they are, rather than as society says they should be. Tyler fell asleep thinking about tools and motorcycles and the complicated beauty of human connection that transcends appearance and reputation. And in his dreams, his dad was there, nodding approval, saying without words what Tyler already knew in his heart: "You did good, son. You did real good." November brought cooler temperatures to Prescott, the ponderosa pines standing stark against increasingly gray skies. Thanksgiving approached, and with it, an invitation that would test Rachel Brennan's comfort with their new reality in ways she hadn't anticipated. The envelope arrived in the mail on a Tuesday, hand-delivered to the mailbox without postage. Inside was a card, surprisingly formal for what Tyler had imagined biker correspondence would look like. The design featured autumn leaves and a motorcycle silhouette, and the message inside was written in careful handwriting. "Rachel and Tyler Brennan, you are cordially invited to the Arizona Hells Angels Thanksgiving dinner, Thursday, November 25th, 2 p.m. at the clubhouse. Bring nothing but yourselves, all food provided, kids welcome. RSVP to Vincent Smoke, Harrington." A phone number followed, and at the bottom, in what Tyler recognized as Marcus's handwriting, "Would mean a lot to us if you came. No pressure, just family celebrating together. Marcus." Rachel held the card for a long time, her expression cycling through surprise, confusion, and something that might have been longing. Tyler knew what she was thinking, because he was thinking it too. Last Thanksgiving had been the first without Dad, and they'd spent it alone in their house, forcing themselves through a sad approximation of celebration. The prospect of being surrounded by people, of not facing another hollow holiday in empty silence, was tempting. But these weren't just any people. "What do you think, Mom?" Tyler asked carefully. "I think it's kind," Rachel said slowly. "I think it's generous. I think it's also completely outside anything I ever imagined for our lives." She set the card on the kitchen counter, staring at it like it might transform into something else if she looked long enough. "Do you want to go?" Tyler considered the question honestly. "I think so. I mean, they've been nice to us. And last Thanksgiving was really hard. Maybe this year could be different." Rachel pulled Tyler into a hug, and he felt her chest hitch with suppressed emotion. "Your dad and I always hosted Thanksgiving. He'd spend days preparing, making his famous deep-fried turkey and those rolls his mother taught him to make. The house would smell like sage and butter, and we'd have friends and family over, and it was always so full of life." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "Last year, I couldn't bear to do any of it. It felt wrong without him. I bought a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store and we ate in silence. I've been dreading this Thanksgiving, knowing it would be the same thing again." "So maybe we should go?" Tyler suggested gently. "Maybe we should." Rachel picked up the card again, reading it more carefully. It says, "Kids welcome." That suggests there will be other families there, not just the members. And Vincent has been nothing but respectful every time I've talked to him. She made her decision with visible effort. "Okay, we'll go, but Tyler, if at any point either of us feels uncomfortable, we leave. No explanations needed, no apologies. We just go. Deal?" "Deal!" Rachel called the number that evening, and Vincent answered on the second ring. Tyler heard only his mom's side of the conversation, but her gradual relaxation told him it was going well. She laughed at something Vincent said, confirmed they'd attend, asked if she could bring anything, and was firmly told no. When she hung up, she looked simultaneously relieved and terrified. "He said there will be about 60 people there, members, their families, some friends of the club. He promised it would be family-friendly and that no one would make us uncomfortable." She sank into the couch, processing what she'd just agreed to. "Your grandmother is going to have a heart attack when I tell her." The days leading up to Thanksgiving were filled with Rachel's second-guessing and Tyler's growing excitement. At school, Tyler mentioned to his closest friends that he was going to a Thanksgiving dinner at the Hells Angels clubhouse. The reactions were predictably mixed. Jamie thought it was the coolest thing ever, Emma was worried for his safety, and Aidan, after consulting his police officer father, reported that the local chapter was mostly law-abiding these days, but still watched closely by authorities. Bradley Mitchell, overhearing this conversation, made it his mission to torment Tyler about it. "Going to have Thanksgiving with criminals. Real classy, Brennan. What are they serving? Stolen turkey?" The taunts continued through the week, but Tyler found himself less affected than before. He'd spoken with Marcus, heard the honesty in his voice, and seen the genuine care the club showed his family. Bradley's ignorant prejudice couldn't touch the reality Tyler had experienced. Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and crisp, frost glittering on the grass. Rachel had agonized over what to wear, finally settling on nice jeans and a burgundy sweater, casual enough not to seem like she was trying too hard, nice enough to show respect. Tyler wore his newest jeans, bought on sale at Miller's Grocery, and a button-up shirt his grandmother had sent for his birthday. The drive to the clubhouse took them to the industrial side of Prescott, where warehouses and auto shops lined wide streets. The clubhouse itself was a large, nondescript building, with motorcycles parked in neat rows out front and an American flag flying from a pole beside the entrance. Rachel parked their aging sedan among the bikes, and Tyler could feel her nervousness radiating. "Remember," she said more to herself than to Tyler, "if we're uncomfortable, we leave." Before they could exit the car, Marcus appeared, striding across the parking lot with a welcoming smile. He opened Rachel's door like a gentleman, offering his hand to help her out. "Mrs. Brennan, Tyler, thank you for coming. It means a lot to everyone here." "Thank you for inviting us," Rachel said, her voice only slightly strained. "And please, call me Rachel." "Rachel it is." Marcus led them toward the entrance, where Vincent waited with two women, one around Rachel's age, one elderly. "This is my wife, Linda, and my mother, Estrella." Linda Harrington was a petite woman with kind eyes and greying hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wore an apron over her clothes and smelled like cinnamon. Estrella, despite her advanced age, radiated a sharp intelligence and no-nonsense demeanor. Both women smiled warmly at Rachel and Tyler. "We're so glad you're here," Linda said, surprising Rachel by pulling her into a quick hug. "Vincent's told us all about Tyler's kindness. It's wonderful to meet you both." Estrella looked Tyler up and down with the assessing gaze of someone who'd raised her own children and numerous grandchildren. "You're the boy with the good heart. Come here." She pulled Tyler close, her embrace surprisingly strong despite her age. "My son says you did something very brave. Not everyone can see past their fear to the humanity underneath. That's a rare gift." The clubhouse interior defied Tyler's expectations. He'd imagined dark, dingy rooms covered in motorcycle parts and beer signs. Instead, he found a surprisingly clean, well-lit space decorated for Thanksgiving with orange and brown streamers, paper turkeys made by children, and long tables set with actual tablecloths and matching plates. The scent of roasting turkey, baking bread, and pumpkin pie filled the air. Families mingled throughout the space, children running between tables, women chatting in clusters, men talking by a makeshift bar serving soft drinks and beer. "We do 2 major celebrations a year," Marcus explained as he guided them inside. "Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's when families come together, spouses, kids, parents, even friends. This is who we really are when we're not wearing the patches and riding." Tyler counted at least 15 children, ranging from toddlers to teenagers. The adults were a diverse mix, some in leather vests over dress shirts, others in casual clothes, all clearly comfortable and happy. Several people approached to introduce themselves, showing genuine warmth toward the Brennans. A woman named Melissa, married to one of the members, pulled Rachel aside. "I know this must be strange for you. My first club event I was terrified. My parents threatened to disown me for dating a biker, but these people became my family. They showed up when my dad died, even though he'd never said a kind word about them, helped with funeral costs, supported me through grief. They're good people who've made some bad choices, but aren't we all?" Tyler found himself drawn to a group of kids playing board games at a corner table. A girl about his age, freckled with braids, wearing a "My Dad Rides a Harley" t-shirt, waved him over. "You're Tyler, right? The kid who helped Reaper?" "Yeah, that's me. And it's Marcus, not Reaper." The girl grinned. "Road names are complicated. My dad is Wrench, but I call him Dad. I'm Sophie. Want to play?" She gestured to a game of Sorry in progress. Tyler joined, and within minutes was laughing at Sophie's dramatic reactions to getting sent back to start. Across the room, Rachel found herself in conversation with several club wives and mothers, women who understood the particular challenges of loving someone who lived outside society's norms. They shared stories of judgment and acceptance, of fear overcome by experience, of the fierce loyalty that bound this unusual family together. "My husband was a corporate accountant before he joined the club," one woman said. "Everyone thinks bikers are uneducated criminals. My husband has a master's degree and manages the club's finances. He chose this life because he was tired of the corporate backstabbing and superficiality. Here, loyalty means something, word means something." Linda Harrington brought Rachel a glass of wine and sat beside her. "I won't pretend it's easy being part of this world. We get judged. People make assumptions. But I've been married to Vincent for 32 years, and I've never doubted his integrity or his love. These men have codes of honor that would shame most respectable society members. They protect the vulnerable, they support their own, and they don't break their promises." "Tyler's father died 8 months ago," Rachel said quietly, surprising herself with the admission. "Construction accident. Tyler found Marcus broken down on the road, and he lent him my husband's tools. Tom, my husband, would have done the same thing. He always said you judge people by their actions, not their appearance, but I'm struggling with this new reality. My son is connected to a motorcycle club. People in our neighborhood whisper. His grandmother thinks I'm being irresponsible, letting him associate with you, and yet you've shown us nothing but kindness. Linda squeezed Rachel's hand. Your husband sounds like he was a wise man, and you're being a good mother by supporting Tyler's instinct to help others while also being cautious about the complications. That's exactly the right balance. As for the judgment, it hurts, I know, but you'll find that the people who matter will see the truth. The others, well, their opinions say more about them than about you. Dinner was called, and everyone gathered at the long tables. Vincent stood at the head, commanding attention without effort. Before we eat, I want to say a few words. We gather today to give thanks, as families do. Some of us are blood relatives, others are brothers by choice, but all of us are family. Today we're honored to have special guests, Rachel and Tyler Brennan. All eyes turned to them, and Tyler felt his face heat. Vincent continued, Tyler showed one of our brothers, Marcus, a kindness that many people wouldn't have. He saw a man who needed help and didn't let fear or prejudice stop him from offering that help. In doing so, he reminded us why we value loyalty and honor above all else. Rachel, you've raised a son with courage and compassion. That's worth celebrating. So please, everyone welcome the Brennans to our table. The room erupted in applause. Tyler noticed several people wiping their eyes, moved by Vincent's words. Rachel gripped his hand under the table, and he could feel her trembling. Not with fear, but with emotion. The meal itself was spectacular. 3 massive turkeys, platters of ham, homemade rolls that rivaled Tom's recipe, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, cornbread stuffing, cranberry sauce both canned and homemade, and enough pie varieties to satisfy any preference. The conversation flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and the happy chaos of children. Marcus sat across from Tyler, and during the meal, he leaned forward. I wanted to tell you something. Remember when you asked what made me join the club? I've been thinking about that conversation. The truth is, the club saved me, but you reminded me why I stayed. Not for the rebellion or the freedom, for the family, for the brotherhood. You saw me as someone worthy of help, and that's how these men have always seen me, as worthy, as valuable, even when the rest of the world wrote me off. I'm glad you found family, Tyler said simply. Everyone needs that. After dinner, as plates were cleared and dessert appeared, Vincent approached Rachel and Tyler. I know this has been a lot for you both. I want to thank you for coming and for giving us a chance to show you who we really are. I also want you to know that you're family now, not because we're forcing it, but because that's how we work. Tyler's act of kindness created a bond. That bond is permanent, whether you choose to maintain close contact or prefer distance. But you'll always have a place at our table. Rachel, her eyes glassy with unshed tears, surprised herself by hugging Vincent. Thank you. For today. For everything. I came here nervous and uncertain, and I'm leaving with... I don't even know how to describe it. Hope, maybe? Community? 8 months ago, my husband died and I felt completely alone. Today, I'm surrounded by people who, by all conventional wisdom, I shouldn't trust. And yet I do. That's terrifying and wonderful in equal measure. That's the truth breaking through prejudice, Vincent said gently. It's uncomfortable because it challenges everything society teaches us, but it's also liberating. You don't have to be afraid of us, Rachel. We're just people trying to live with honor in a world that often doesn't understand us. As the evening wound down, Tyler found himself helping the other kids clean up, feeling like part of something larger than himself. Sophie pulled him aside as they gathered paper plates. You should come to the Christmas party too. It's even bigger than this, and we do a toy drive for kids whose parents are in jail. My dad says you're good people, and we need more good people around here." "I'd like that," Tyler said, meaning it. The drive home was quiet, both Brennans processing the day. Finally, Rachel spoke. "That was not what I expected." "What did you expect?" Tyler asked. "I don't know. Something dangerous. Something that would confirm all my fears and society's warnings. Instead, I met families. I met women like me, trying to make lives work under complicated circumstances. I met men who have made mistakes, but who are trying to be better. I met kids who love their biker dads the way you loved Tom." She pulled into their driveway, the freshly painted house looking welcoming under the porch light. "Your father would have loved today, Tyler. He would have loved the honesty, the lack of pretense, the genuine warmth, and he would have been proud of you for opening that door for us." Inside, Tyler hung up his jacket, the supporter pin catching the light. He thought about the day, the food, the laughter, the children playing, the adults sharing stories. He thought about Vincent's words about family and Marcus's admission about being seen as worthy. He thought about his mom laughing genuinely for the first time in months, her shoulders finally relaxing from the permanent tension they'd carried since Dad's death. That night, Tyler added a new entry to the journal his school counselor had suggested he keep after Dad died. "Today I learned that family isn't just blood. It's also the people who show up, who care, who see you as worthy. I learned that prejudice keeps us from seeing the humanity in others, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is challenge your own assumptions. Dad, I think you would have liked the Hells Angels. They reminded me of you, rough on the outside, but good where it counts. I hope I'm making you proud." He closed the journal and turned off the light, feeling more settled than he had in months. Outside, Prescott slept under a November sky, and in homes across the city, people who had attended the Thanksgiving dinner carried similar reflections about family, about judgment, about a 9-year-old boy who had inadvertently become a bridge between two worlds that rarely connected. The story continued to unfold, layer by layer, challenging assumptions and revealing truths that couldn't be learned from television news or whispered warnings. Tyler Brennan had lent his father's tools to a stranger and received in return something far more valuable, a community, a family, and a living lesson in the complicated beauty of human character that transcends appearance, reputation, and society's fear-based judgments. December arrived with the first significant snowfall Prescott had seen in 3 years. The ponderosa pines wore crowns of white, and Copper Basin Road transformed into a winter postcard. Tyler woke on the first Saturday of the month to find the world blanketed in 6 inches of fresh powder, beautiful but also problematic. Their aging sedan sat in the driveway, buried under snow, and Rachel's work shift at the diner started in 2 hours. Tyler found his mom in the kitchen, staring out the window at the snow with an expression of defeat. "I don't even have a working snow shovel," she said quietly. "Your dad's broke last year, and I kept meaning to buy a new one, but never had the money. I can't get the car out in time." Tyler remembered the envelope of contact numbers sitting in his desk drawer. "Mom, we could call—" "No," Rachel cut him off firmly. "We can't call them every time we have a problem. That's not fair to them, and it's not teaching you to be independent. We'll figure something out. I'll call the diner, explain I'll be late. We'll dig out by hand if we have to." Tyler nodded but felt frustrated. They had help available, help that had been explicitly offered, and Mom's pride wouldn't let her accept it. He understood her reasoning, but he also remembered Vincent's words at Thanksgiving, "Your family now. Family doesn't keep score of who helps whom." The sound of engines rumbling down Copper Basin Road drew Tyler back to the window. 3 pickup trucks and 2 motorcycles, yes, motorcycles in the snow, pulled up to their house. Marcus and Vincent climbed out of the lead truck, both bundled in heavy jackets. along with 4 other club members Tyler recognized from Thanksgiving. Rachel opened the door before they could knock, her expression cycling between gratitude and embarrassment. "Vincent, Marcus, you didn't have to." "We know we didn't have to," Vincent said, already heading back to his truck to retrieve snow shovels and a snowblower from the bed. "We wanted to. Saw the weather forecast, knew this neighborhood doesn't have snow removal services, figured folks might need help. Yours was the first house on our list." Within 20 minutes, the driveway was clear, the sedan's windshield scraped and defrosted, and the front walk shoveled. Marcus even checked the car's tire treads and added air to one that was running low. Rachel stood on the porch, wrapped in her coat, watching with tears freezing on her cheeks. "How did you know?" she asked when the work was done. "How did you know we'd need help?" "Because we pay attention," Vincent said simply. "We know you're a single mom working multiple jobs. We know your car is old and your budget is tight. We know snow is expensive and difficult when you're managing everything alone. So we showed up. That's what family does." A neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, approached cautiously from her own snow-covered driveway. Tyler could see her wrestling with her prejudices, but need one out. "I don't suppose. I hate to ask, but I'm 74, and my son won't be able to come help until this afternoon. If you have time." Vincent smiled warmly. "We've got time, ma'am. Where do you need us?" By noon, the Hells Angels Snow Brigade had cleared 8 driveways in the neighborhood, accepted numerous thank yous and cups of hot coffee, and significantly altered the perception of several previously hostile residents. Mr. Vega, who had called the police during their first appearance, now shook Vincent's hand and offered to bring beers by the clubhouse sometime. The transformation was subtle but undeniable. Tyler helped where he could, mostly by distributing the cookies his mom hastily baked as thank yous. Sophie had come along with her father, and the 2 kids worked together, turning snow removal into an impromptu party. "We do this every year," Sophie explained. "When it snows, we go help elderly people and single parents. Dad says it's good PR, but I think he just likes helping people." When Rachel finally left for work, only 15 minutes late thanks to the cleared driveway, she hugged Marcus impulsively. "Thank you, not just for today, but for everything. For showing my son that kindness comes from unexpected places, for challenging my assumptions, for being there when we needed you." Marcus hugged her back gently. "You don't have to thank us, Rachel. This is what community looks like when people stop judging and start helping." The snow day marked a turning point in the neighborhood's perception of the club. Conversations that had been whispered became open. People who had warned their children to avoid Tyler now asked questions about the bikers, their prejudices cracking under the weight of witnessed generosity. The Brennans became a bridge, a living example of how fear-based judgments crumble when confronted with consistent, contradictory evidence. At school the following Monday, even Bradley Mitchell seemed temporarily disarmed. "So they actually helped your neighborhood?" he asked, his usual hostility muted. "Like for free?" "They did," Tyler confirmed. "They helped anyone who needed it. My mom, Mrs. Henderson, who's 74, the Thompsons, who just had a baby. Anyone who needed help, they helped." Bradley was quiet for a long moment, his face troubled. Finally, he said, "My dad says they're dangerous criminals. But my grandma lives in your neighborhood. She called my dad and said some bikers cleared her driveway and wouldn't accept any money. She said they were perfect gentlemen. She said she's been wrong about them." He shook his head. "I don't get it. How can they be bad guys if they do stuff like that?" "Maybe they're not bad guys," Tyler said simply. "Maybe they're just guys who've made mistakes but are trying to do better, like most people." Bradley walked away looking confused, and Tyler felt a small victory. Prejudice was powerful, but so was evidence. Every act of kindness, every moment of grace, every time the club showed up and did good, it chipped away at the wall of judgment that society had built around them. That evening, Tyler sat with his mum at the kitchen table while she prepared dinner. "Mum, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Are you still scared of them?" "The club, I mean." Rachel paused in her vegetable chopping, considering the question carefully. "I'm not scared of them anymore, no. But I am cautious about the world they inhabit. They have enemies, Tyler. Other clubs, police who watch them, people who hold grudges. My fear isn't that they'll hurt us, it's that being associated with them might put us in the crossfire of something we don't understand." "But that could happen to anyone," Tyler argued. "Dad died in a construction accident. He wasn't doing anything dangerous or living outside society, and bad things still happened. Isn't it better to have people who care about you, even if they're complicated people, than to be alone trying to be safe?" Rachel set down her knife and pulled Tyler into a hug. "When did you get so wise? You're 9 years old. You should be worried about video games and homework, not philosophical questions about risk and community." "Dad dying made me think about things," Tyler said into her shoulder. "I learned that life is short and bad things happen whether you're careful or not. So maybe we should accept help when it's offered. Maybe we should be part of a community, even if it's not the community other people think we should be part of." "Your father would be so proud of the person you're becoming," Rachel whispered. "And you're right. We can't live in fear of what might happen. We can only live according to our values and trust that we're making the best choices we can." The Christmas party invitation arrived 2 weeks later, this time delivered in person by Marcus and Sophie. The little girl bounded up to the door when Rachel answered, her enthusiasm infectious. "Tyler, you have to come to the Christmas party. We're doing a toy drive and decorating contests, and there's going to be hot chocolate and cookies and presents for everyone." Rachel laughed at Sophie's excitement, the sound coming easier now. "A toy drive?" Marcus explained. "Every year, the club collects toys for kids whose parents are incarcerated. A lot of these children are forgotten during the holidays. Their parents are in prison, often their guardians are struggling financially, and they get overlooked by the usual charity organizations. We make sure every kid gets something. We also partner with local shelters to provide gifts for homeless families." "That's beautiful," Rachel said softly. "Can we contribute? We don't have much, but Tyler and I would like to help." "Your presence is contribution enough," Marcus said. "But if you want to bring a toy or two, that's always appreciated. The party is December 23rd, 2 p.m., same place as Thanksgiving." Tyler looked at his mom hopefully, and Rachel nodded. "We'll be there." Sophie cheered, grabbing Tyler's hand. "This is going to be the best Christmas ever. Come on, I want to show you my new bike." As the kids ran outside to where Sophie's bicycle was mounted on the back of Marcus's truck, Rachel and Marcus stood in the doorway. "She's a good kid," Rachel observed. "Happy, confident." "She is. Growing up around the club has given her a unique perspective. She doesn't judge people by appearance. She knows that complicated people can do beautiful things, and she has about 60 protective uncles who would go to war for her if anyone threatened her." Marcus smiled fondly. "Being part of this life, it's not for everyone, but for some of us it's home." "I'm beginning to understand that," Rachel admitted. "Tyler's happier than he's been since Tom died. He has a community. He has male role models. He has Sophie and the other kids. He's learning lessons I couldn't teach him. And honestly, I'm happier too. For months I felt like we were drowning. Now I feel like we have a life raft. Is it an unconventional life raft? Yes. But it's keeping us afloat." Marcus met her eyes seriously. "Rachel, I want you to know that whatever happens, whatever choices you make about how much or how little you want to be involved with the club, we respect that. If tomorrow you decide this is too much, too complicated, too outside your comfort zone, we'll step back. We'll always be here if you need us, but we won't force our presence." "I know," Rachel said, "and that's part of why I'm okay with all this. You've never pushed. You've never demanded. You've just shown up when needed and respected our boundaries. That's more than some blood relatives have done." The Christmas party exceeded even Thanksgiving's warmth. The clubhouse was transformed into a winter wonderland, complete with a massive tree decorated by the children, strings of lights everywhere, and enough presents to fill several rooms. The toy drive had collected over 200 gifts, and club members would spend Christmas Eve delivering them to children across Prescott and surrounding areas. Tyler participated in the gift-wrapping station, working alongside Sophie and other club kids to prepare presents for their delivery. As he wrapped a doll for a 5-year-old girl whose mother was serving time for drug possession, Tyler felt the full weight of what the club did behind the fearsome patches and intimidating motorcycles. They cared for the forgotten, the judged, the children of the incarcerated who society often overlooked. Vincent found Tyler during a quiet moment, sitting on a folding chair and watching the organized chaos of children and adults preparing for their charitable mission. "You thinking deep thoughts over here, Tyler?" "Just thinking about how wrong people are about you, about the club. They see the leather and the patches and they think criminals. But you're doing more good than most churches I know." Vincent sat beside him, his old knees creaking. "We're not saints, Tyler. Don't make that mistake. We've earned our reputation in a lot of ways, but we're also not demons. We're people who've chosen to live outside conventional society, and within that choice, we've built our own code of ethics. We take care of our own. We protect the vulnerable. We keep our promises. And yes, we do good work. But we're still human, still flawed, still carrying the weight of our mistakes." "I know," Tyler said. "Marcus told me about his arrests, about his time in prison. But he also told me the club saved his life, that it gave him family when he didn't have one. That's what I see when I look at you guys. Not perfect people, but people who found each other and chose to make something meaningful from their lives." Vincent was quiet for a long moment, and when he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "Your father must have been an incredible man to raise a son with your insight and empathy. You see the world clearly, Tyler. You don't let fear or prejudice cloud your vision. That's going to serve you well in life, but it's also going to make things harder sometimes. People don't like having their prejudices challenged. I know. Bradley Mitchell still gives me grief at school. But some of the kids who used to avoid me are talking to me now. And my mum's neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, she baked us cookies and said she was wrong about the club, so it's getting better." "One person at a time," Vincent agreed. "That's how prejudice breaks down. One challenged assumption, one witnessed act of kindness, one moment of honest connection. You started this, Tyler. By helping Marcus, you created a ripple effect that's still spreading. You reminded us why we do this work, and you're helping your community see past their fear to the truth underneath." The party continued with food, music, and the joy of children excited for Christmas. Rachel found herself in conversation with a group of women who shared the unique experience of loving someone the world judged harshly. They traded stories, offered support, and built connections that transcended their different circumstances. As the evening wound down and families prepared to leave, Vincent made a final announcement. "Before everyone goes, I want to acknowledge someone special. Tyler Brennan." He gestured for Tyler to join him at the front of the room. "You probably don't fully understand what you set in motion when you helped Marcus with his broken motorcycle. You saw a person who needed help, and you helped them, without judgment, without fear, without expectation of reward. That simple act reminded us who we are and what we value. It created a bond that's brought joy to this club and challenged assumptions in your community." He pulled a wrapped box from behind the tree. "This is from all of us, a small token of our gratitude and respect." Tyler unwrapped the box to find a leather jacket, Not a club vest, but a genuine leather motorcycle jacket sized for a child, with custom patches sewn on, "Honorary Brother" and "Tyler Brennan," and, surprisingly, a small patch depicting crossed wrenches. Tyler's eyes filled with tears as he ran his fingers over the quality leather and careful stitching. "The crossed wrenches represent your dad's tools," Marcus explained, joining Vincent at the front. "They represent the bridge you built between worlds. They represent fixing what's broken, not just motorcycles, but perceptions, relationships, communities. You wear that jacket with pride, Tyler. You've earned it." Rachel was openly crying now, and several of the women around her offered tissues and understanding hands on her shoulders. Tyler hugged Vincent, then Marcus, overwhelmed by the gesture and its meaning. This wasn't just a gift. It was acceptance, recognition, family. Driving home that night, wearing his new jacket despite the car's heater running full blast, Tyler felt complete in a way he hadn't since Dad's death. The community he'd accidentally built around himself had filled gaps he hadn't fully acknowledged were there. Rachel glanced at him, saw the contentment on his face, and smiled through her tears. "You know what your father used to say?" Rachel asked. "He said that the measure of a person isn't in their worst mistakes, but in how they respond to those mistakes and grow. He said everyone deserves a chance to show who they really are, beyond society's labels. I think he'd love what you've done, Tyler. You've given people a chance to show who they are, and they've shown all of us, that human beings are more complicated and more beautiful than prejudice allows us to see." "I just helped a guy with a broken motorcycle," Tyler said, but he was smiling. "You did so much more than that, baby. So much more." The Brennan house came into view, freshly painted and maintained, standing as a physical testament to the bonds Tyler had inadvertently created. Inside, the Christmas tree they decorated together waited, modest but cheerful. And in Tyler's room, his new jacket would hang in a place of honor beside the supporter pin Marcus had given him months ago. Outside, Prescott settled into its winter night, snow falling gently, covering the world in fresh white. On Copper Basin Road, houses glowed with holiday lights and the warmth of families celebrating together. In one of those houses, a 9-year-old boy who had lent his father's tools to a stranger learned that the simple act of seeing people as they are, not as society says they should be, can transform not just individual lives but entire communities. The story of Tyler Brennan and the Hells Angels would be told for years in Prescott, evolving into local legend. But for Tyler himself, it was simply life. Complicated, beautiful life full of unexpected friends, challenging assumptions, and the daily practice of choosing courage over fear, connection over isolation, and humanity over prejudice. His dad's tools remained in the workshop shed, ready to bridge whatever divides needed crossing, ready to fix whatever was broken, ready to build whatever connections the world needed most. And in the leather of his honorary jacket, in the patch depicting crossed wrenches, Tyler carried forward his father's legacy, not through bloodline or inheritance, but through the living practice of kindness without judgment, help without hesitation, and the brave acknowledgement that the world's most feared patches sometimes cover the world's most honorable hearts.